we ready?
Yep.
We'll start with the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Morning, everyone, and welcome to the Shawnee County Board of County Commissioners. It's September 7th, 2023. And on my far left, Madam Clerk, Cindy Beck. On my far right, our County Councilor, Jim Crowell. To my immediate left is Commissioner Aaron Mays, who represents District 3. On my right is Commissioner Kevin Cook, who represents District 2. I'm Bill Rippon, and I represent District 1. Madam Clerk, what is first?
First item is item 3, consent agenda.
I will move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item 4, new business A, County Clerk number 1, consider all voucher payments.
Commissioners, this morning we have vouchers that total $3,590,599.38. The highlights out of that voucher report: we had payroll of $1,223,192.78. We had our JADO payment to $935,058.89. Holding accounts for the state of Kansas was $220,882.31. Health insurance of $521,516.25. And then other notes, under the detention facility under Johnson Controls Fire Protection LP was $32,456.76. That was support and maintenance for the HVAC system within the facility. Under Equipment Fund and Elections Commissioner, we had the Election System and Software LLC for $22,116.33. That's for Express Vote software upgrades. I don't have any questions regarding the vouchers and would move for their approval.
Second. Motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item A2, consider correction orders.
I would move that we approve the correction orders.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item A3, consider approval of resolution number 2023-58, altering the boundaries of Menoken and Soldier Townships. And Commissioner, this has been a request submitted by both of these townships. They're wanting to consider Urban Hills number 18, which sits right on the border, and this will help with like the care. It's more in Soldier Township than it is Menoken. Mr. Hendricks is supposed to, there he was hiding behind, I didn't see him. This is Mr. Lee Hendricks. He is the attorney representing both of the townships.
Good morning. My name is Lee Hendricks. I'm here on behalf of Soldier Township, but on the joint petition of both townships. As Ms. Beck was explaining, this involves 16 properties in a cul-de-sac that is, for lack of a better term, on an island off of Menoken, difficult for emergency services and then just general services to be provided to them. Menoken actually contacted Soldier Township and requested that we attach that to Soldier, release it from Menoken, because it just makes more sense from a ongoing maintenance standpoint.
Mr. Hendricks, this will then affect the voting in that area?
Yeah, it's unbelievable how 16 homes, how many different moving parts there are with this. It will affect voting. It would affect fire protection and fire ratings. We spoke yesterday about the tax implications of it. Both parties are aware of that. I think the benefits of quicker service and, frankly, the tax rating outweigh whatever detriments might occur to those that are in Menoken and would be leaving.
This is Jim Crowell, Shawnee County Councilor. Let me just clarify a couple of things regarding this resolution. First of all, the statute that allows the Board of County Commissioners to do this is one of our very old statutes. So it doesn't require a public hearing like some of the other procedures you're accustomed to. You can simply make this change. So we've been discussing throughout with the attorney for Soldier Township, Mr. Hendricks, so some of the ramifications. One of the latest ramifications were the election ramifications that came up. So thank you to our election office for bringing that about. They have some additional information if you want to hear it. They're here today to present it if you want to hear it. What we've done is we've added a line to the resolution that makes it clear that this resolution is effective November 8th, 2023, so that we comply with all statutory provisions regarding elections. And so this resolution would become effective after the most recently scheduled general election on November 7th.
Okay.
Jim, do I need to make a motion to amend it to say that it would go into effect November 8th?
It would be better
Okay,
to
I
make
would
it clear
make a-
because that's not what was on the agenda.
I make a motion that we amend the resolution to show a November 8th effective date.
Second. Motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item.
No, we would
now
need
we
to.
have
Oh, now we have to approve the
Now I'll
resolution.
make a motion that we approve the resolution.
Second.
Let's keep our ducks in a row here. Motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Now I think we can move on.
Item B, Public Works, number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C-277-2023, an agreement with the City of Topeka which allows for a $1 million contribution by the city towards construction of Shawnee County Project S-701008.00 Auburn Road, Southwest 29th to K4 Highway.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kurt Niehaus, Director of Public Works. As the clerk said, we have a project on Auburn Road, which you all know about, and the City of Topeka has graciously decided to contribute $1 million to the project for that portion of the project within the city limits. It covers pavement replacement on Auburn Road and the portion of 29th Street, the approach to the roundabout at 29th and Auburn Road. It does not include any costs associated with the Auburn Washburn's connecting roundabout on 29th Street. With that, I look forward to any questions that you have.
Was there any buy-in from 50, or not from, but from Washburn Rural School District?
We still continue to work with Washburn Rural. Everything is going great. The communication is positive. At some point, I will reach out to the county councilor and we will create a document that will.
What's the timeline on all this? Is this-
We wish to let the project in probably the third or at least the fourth quarter of 2024, with construction complete by August of 2025, when the school district's new facility becomes operational.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. I will move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Mays. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item B2, consider awarding a bid to Hutchison Salt Company for up to 6,500 tons of de-icing salt at a unit cost of $52.17 per ton. This material will be used during the winter of 2023-2024 in support of snow and ice removal operations on county-maintained roads, as well as Grove and Monmouth Township roads.
Good morning again, Kurt Niehaus, Director of Public Works. I hate to say it, winter's coming, and our most important material that we put on the roads to fight snow and ice is salt. And this year, it's great. We had 3 great bids, and we got a bid from a company that we'd never seen before. So I compliment Audit Finance on their system, online system of collecting bids, because I think it's starting to pay. We're starting to get some buy-in from other entities that we haven't seen in the past. So Hutchinson Salt Company of Hutchinson, Kansas submitted a bid of $52.17, like the clerk said. This represents a decrease from last year. If this vendor had not submitted a bid, we would have paid more than we had last year. So I think that's an important point to say. But anyway, it's a good bid. We look forward to working with Hutchinson Salt Company, and with that, I look forward to your questions.
Well, Kurt, I hate to correct you, but I want to point this out because it's peculiar that Hutchinson Salt Company is actually based out of Baxter Springs and not
Oh, the
Hutchinson.
headquarters? Okay. I looked on the website, and it provided a Hutchinson mailing
And
address,
the
so.
address on
Okay.
here is from Baxter Springs,
Okay.
Kansas. So
Very
I thought
good.
that was unique, and
Yeah.
so,
Thank you.
but this is fantastic. It's the first time in a while we've seen something go down in price from last year. So if there's no other questions, I'll move for approval.
I'll second. Motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt. Next item.
Item C, Health Department, number 1, approval to renew the Women, Infants, and Children WIC Breastfeeding Peer Counselor Agreement, Contract C280-2023, for a total allocation of $1,337,134 to provide WIC services in Shawnee, Osage and Wabunsee counties. The contract covers a period of time from October 1, 2023 to September 30 of 2024.
Good morning, Commissioners. Missy Middendorf with the Health Department, Family Health Division Manager. And again, this is our WIC contract we bring to you every year through KDHE. This is the main one, and then the next 2 items on there will be our subcontracts with the other counties. Our Women, Infant, Children program continues to serve pregnant women, breastfeeding women, postpartum women, and children 0 to 5. We moved to we used to be just remote during COVID, and we moved to more of a hybrid, so the client gets a choice if they want to come in the office or if they want to do remote services now, but they have to come in at least once a year and get their measurements done, which is a height, weight, and a hemoglobin check on those clients. And so we currently, the last fiscal year, we served 6,117 participants in all 3 counties. And our breastfeeding peer counselor program served 2,453 women. So we are very busy, and we have 17 staff working to serve all these participants in the WIC program. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Is the salary of the 17 people paid from this program?
There's a couple of us that we are out of different, 3 different grants,
I see.
depending on, but most of it, yes.
Okay. Any other questions?
I'll move for approval.
I'll second. Motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item C2, approval to renew the agreement, contract C281-2023 with Osage County for the WIC services to be provided by Shawnee County Health Department for a budgeted total amount of $15,225 paid by the Kansas Department of Health and Environment. The contract covers a period of time from October 1, 2023 to September 30, 2024.
Again, Missy Middendorf with the Health Department. We send one registered dietitian to Osage County every week, and she takes care of that population there, and we continue to plan to do that. And again, they also have the remote capabilities through their clients. Be happy to answer any questions about our Osage County contract.
Questions?
Move for approval.
I'll second. Motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item C3, approval to renew the agreement, contract C282-2023 with Wabunsee County for WIC services to be provided by the Shawnee County Health Department for a budget amount of $7,627 paid by the Kansas Department of Health and Environment. The contract covers the period of time from October 1, 2023 to September 30, 2024.
Again, Misty with the Health Department, and yes, we also send a registered dietitian to Wabunsee County twice a month. Their population is smaller, their enrollment size is smaller, so we don't send anybody weekly. Again, I'd be happy to answer any questions about this contract.
Any questions? I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item.
Item D, Audit Finance, number 1, consider approval of resolution number 2023-57 to establish procedures for the use and expenditure of Gage Park sales tax funds.
Good morning, Betty Griner, Director of Administrative Services. This resolution establishes the procedures for the use and the expenditure of the Gage Park sales tax that was allocated and distributed to Shawnee County, or that is each month. And it's pursuant to the Gage Park Improvement Authority Act. It gives the Shawnee County Parks and Rec Department the authority to use these funds for expenditures as allowed in that act and approved by the Board of County Commissioners through the use of project budgets. To summarize this, it would work very similar to what Parks and Public Works does that they bring a project budget to the commission for approval. That gives them the authorization to expend those funds for that project. And then at the completion, they come back and bring the results to you for your final approval. I understand there's a change that,
This is Jim Kraus, Shawnee County Counselor. As with the prior resolution, you can see that sometimes drafting is a work in progress. There is a requested change to the third whereas. It doesn't substantively change the resolution. It simply clarifies, it's a clarification that instead of a percentage of the sales tax that is allocated pursuant to the act, that the resolution actually say 22% of the 0.2 percentage of the sales tax revenue received, to clarify that the exact amount that will be received by Shawnee County through the state legislation, and to make it easier to search for this resolution in the future by staff. So that's the requested change, like the prior resolution. If you would like to make that change, I would like to see an amendment through a motion and then adoption of the resolution through a separate motion.
So in the future, if that percentage changes, we would have to
Change the resolution.
change the resolution.
If the percentage changes in the future, we will change the resolution.
Okay. But, so we're doing this for, to make it easier to,
You have competing, as an attorney, maybe we want to draft things generally so we don't have to change them later. For transparency purposes, for the purpose of being able to easily search under the systems that we have, the change is requested.
Ms. Beck, as our clerk, how would this help your office?
For 10 years from now or 20 years from now, because I think to change the percentage, it would take legislative action. Is that correct?
Yeah, it would.
So it's not like you could just pass a resolution to change the percentage amount. When I read the resolution, I was looking at how my staff does research, and this has no, the number wouldn't be there. Someone would call and say, so what exactly is your percentage? And we'd have to go, okay, so we would have to go to actually to the statute or have it on a separate document. So I had a discussion with Jim yesterday and said, would it be possible to put the county's percentage of 0.2% on the resolution? It would, I guess it was just to make it simpler for them at some point in time, or the person 10 or 15 years from now who's going to do the research, is going to go back to this resolution and know exactly what they were looking at, the numbers.
Do we have it language drafted that we can?
You got it.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I would move for the amendment to the resolution as presented.
I will second that. Motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Now, we'll have to approve the resolution, and I will move that we approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. All right. Next item.
Item E, Commission, number 1, review the budget, preliminary 2024 budget for adjustments and/or adoption of the 2024 budget.
Again, Betty Griner, Director of Administrative Services, and we are here for continuing discussion of the 2024 budget. We will pick up where we left off, basically, right now. As you will see on our worksheet here, there were requests from the different departments totaling $142,389,715. To date, you have made decreases to those requests in the amount of $1,629,059. And that would be a decrease in the mill levy of a little over $0.5 mil. At this time, I would like to invite the sheriff to come up and speak, as he has an offer he would like to make.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Hill with Shawnee County Sheriff's Office. We have continued to look at our 2024 budget request and looking at our budget for 2023. We've been able to realize some cost savings. So we've identified some items that we will tend on purchasing out of this year's budget that will allow us to lower our budget request for next year. I believe the number's $500,000 or $502,500. So I believe that's a good for all of us, and trying to be a good steward of the monies. These purchases that we're purchasing this year are just going to go up next year with the inflation too. So purchasing them this year would benefit us. So that's our proposal.
Thank you for making that cut. That's good.
Appreciate that.
Thank you. I would move to acknowledge the change that the sheriff brought forth of the $502,000.
I will second. Motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
In the time, I'm sure we've all gone through the budget and we've all had meetings with department heads. In meeting with Audit, Finance, and Parks and Recreation, Tim, if you could come up. There was identified that Shawnee County had approved through the ARPA relief funds a project to renovate the girls softball out at Lake Shawnee, and that was a total project cost of $1.2 million. And Tim, if we were to delay that project to some point in the future, is that feasible within the Parks and Recreation model?
Sure. Tim Laurent, Parks and Recreation Department. Yeah, absolutely. I think it is feasible. And we have managed to make a lot of improvements at Invista, at the girls' complex. We've done turf replacement. We've renovated the men's restroom. We do have a deal in place with Invista, which is a sponsorship program that will last, I believe, through, I think, the next 6 years. So they're making significant donation to the complex and to the Parks for All Foundation every year. So I think we can continue to make improvements, maybe not quite to the level of what we had talked about with the ARPA funds, but yes, I think we could delay that or use those funds for something else at this time.
Okay, because if we were to pull that from the ARPA funds, and talking with Audit Finance, we could shift, as the commission, some of the approved amounts from capital outlay to be identified as paid under the ARPA, which would then reduce the capital outlay fund. And Betty, you had identified some projects within capital outlay that would fit within the ARPA.
Yes.
I have the email pulled up if that helps.
Oh, very good, very good.
Or if the total amount, I mean, if we talk about the total amount, the total amount.
So you're
is-
looking at the capital
Outlay,
outlay. Okay, do you want me to pull that up?
yes, please.
Okay. Find the right one here. Oops. Okay, where am I? Here we go.
Um, Under the, I think starting with, if we were to move the,
The proposed column is the one
Yes.
that are the preliminary approvals.
if we were to move the sheriff's pursuit rated vehicle replacement of the 301,000,
That,
does that not fall within?
that one, I'm not sure if it would fall within ARPA.
Okay.
Um,
Do you have recommendations, I guess, let me shift back. Would you
Well-
have recommendations that would shift under, or Commissioner Mays?
I think the EOC renovations would probably work. The EOC vehicle sustainment, we had purchased that vehicle with ARPA fund, or CARES Act, I believe, funds to
Yes.
begin with.
Yes.
So that should be an eligible expense, because emergency management is obviously something that was, you know, a big
Right.
part of all that. And so that's two items. The courthouse, I mean, that project is primarily funded by ARPA anyway, so I mean, I would think that courthouse expenses would
What,
be
you mean the
eligible.
window coverings? Is
Window
that-
covering?
Window coverings, also the FF&E for the,
For the courts,
for the courts, which,
55,000.
you know, could possibly be even considered an oversight in the, the GMP, but I mean, I think all of
I
those
think-
should be eligible.
I think all of those would be eligible. The only reason I am questioning the pursuit vehicles is that is more of a normal
And that's fine.
operating cycle type of expenditure.
That's not that big item.
The radio refresh for emergency management.
Yeah, that is true. There is a category that we could do the pursuit vehicles under. There is a category within ARPA that is for lost revenue, and that is a much broader eligibility requirements, so we could do that. Yeah, I was thinking about the other categories, but there is a category we could use ARPA for on that too.
So ultimately, what I would like us to look at doing is reducing our capital outlay and applying some of those to ARPA, which would then be directly reflected on the budget. And do we,
Would-
go ahead.
How much are we, what are we up to now with those?
You mean on the budget? Or, I'm sorry, I
Well,
don't know what
with
you're.
these proposed,
Oh, the proposed capital outlay, we're at.
Right.
2,110,000.
The ARPA budget that was approved for Parks and Recreation was $1.2 million.
Yes.
Now.
We don't necessarily need to take all of that
No,
either. I mean, that's, it-
I agree, I just,
Yeah.
that was the maximum amount.
For that project, yes.
For the project.
And keep in mind that with ARPA dollars, it has to be completely obligated by the end of '24.
so I have a quick question on the EOC renovations. It says that the request is 206 total, and we allocated 100.
That is for all years. There was some money allocated to that before.
Okay, so they already
Right.
have part of the, no.
Okay.
I just, my memory is,
Yeah, that's right. There's a few EOC projects going on, or that requested. So this $100,000 was for like the restroom renovations that they needed, because they were previously only approved for $50,000 for restroom renovations. And they're actually looking at doing both restrooms instead of just one now. And so that original bid came in very much higher. And so they were needing to do both restrooms and kind of fix the price from where it was a couple years ago. So that's what this EOC,
So that's where the 206 comes in.
What is
Where's
the
the
asking
two?
amount right now?
yes, the 206 is multiple years, so if they wanted to do things in years
I see.
25 through 28, that would be additional things in future years that have not been approved.
And they've already been approved for the 50,000, so this is adding to that in order to be able to get that project done.
All right.
If the sheriff's vehicle was to qualify, wasn't that 300,000?
301. And then there's also the Ponyfield turf, turf replacement. I believe that had been a discussion item also. Yes, here's the pursuit vehicles, that's 301,000.
And how much is the Ponyfield?
250.
If we were to just use those two, that would be 500 and what, one?
That would be 551,000.
Okay.
What would that leave us then in the,
So if we were to shift that from the, reduce the capital outlay by 551,000, then
Yeah.
look at the total mill levy.
That would decrease your mill levy by 1.035 mils. Just want to remind you that that means when you're looking at your 2025 budget, you are at a starting point of 1.5 million for capital outlay. So that you probably will be looking at a sizable increase in that budget line for 2025.
I'd move for a reduction of the capital outlay by 551,000.
just clarification. So, wouldn't we need to be more specific with that? Or, I mean,
yeah.
so I'm looking at this and I guess those are probably the easiest items to move over. I've put together kind of a list of a number of other things that I think would probably be also eligible: the court data center, the furniture, the EOC renovations, the window coverings for the courthouse, the tactical command vehicle, the DOC security upgrade, and the EOC radio refresh, all of which I think would be eligible and possibly probably better, more appropriate than the sheriff's fleet upgrade. It's not as simple though.
The only reason why I picked those two is, again, the ARPA being able to do it within the 1 year, and with all of the courthouse renovations that are ongoing, whether or not the window coverings could get done within 2024, whether or not the upgrades to, again, there's a lot of work, physical work that's going on within the courthouse. And that was my only concern, is if we, to identify those as being ARPA, and if they didn't get done within 2024, then the county would be not able to use those.
Now, just to clarify, it doesn't have to be done by the end of 2024. It has to be obligated, and that obligation has to be in place and finalized.
Yeah, this is Jim Crowe, Shawnee County Counselor. The funds have to be committed by contract by December 31st of 2024. They have to be spent towards that item by December 31st of 2026.
So, as we look at this, like I said, obviously the sheriff's vehicles are gonna be the easiest thing to do, just because it's a larger number than some of these others. But, we've had trouble getting vehicles, and so I guess we need to figure out, are we even gonna be able to get these vehicles by the time that deadline goes by?
I have not had a conversation about this with the
I
sheriff's
think
office, so.
The undersheriff, I think, is gonna,
This one's kind of a new development.
Shane Hubler, Shawnee County Sheriff's Office. We are still experiencing very interesting order windows, et cetera. Right now, there was a very short order window for 2024s, and they're not even going to be building them. They will start building 2025s. That's more of the order window that the manufacturers are allowing us for. As far as delivery time, it's constantly ever-changing. So I couldn't speak to a time when we would absolutely be able to have them, just because the manufacturers are still dealing with different order windows.
okay. And what we've seen with other departments is that we allocate funds, we buy vehicles, the vehicles never show up, and then they come back a year later and tell us the price went up by 20%. And that's my fear with this, is that if we allocate this funding for vehicles, there's a chance that it just doesn't end up happening.
Or another fear is that then the manufacturer cancels the order.
Yeah,
And then where are you with these ARPA funds?
so I mean, the 300, what was it again, 301?
301,000.
I mean, I'd prefer to probably move that to a couple other items, if you guys are amenable to that. I know there's a motion on the table, so.
I'm gonna withdraw my motion, just given that information.
Okay.
But given that discussion, Under Sheriff, should we even have 300,000 then on the capital outlay? Is that tying up $300,000 that isn't even gonna be allocated?
I believe that we're going to be able to take delivery of vehicles. It's just a matter of, with the last few years, I can't tell you definitively. I know we need the vehicles. We reduced our request from our normal 10 to 7 because we were able to realize some savings in the past year. So I fear that if we didn't at least intend on purchasing seven vehicles, we drive 1.2 million miles a year. And to keep those emergency first responding vehicles as safe as they possibly can for not only the officers but the citizens, I think it would be remiss if we didn't at least plan to purchase those vehicles and then try and adjust however we can accordingly with the manufacturer's delivery issues.
I will mention that's also, also something we can work with the departments on some of these purchases, that they don't have to wait until January to order it if they know they're not going to get delivery and not need to make payment until after January. They can go ahead and order them ahead and get on those lists.
Commissioner Mason?
Our clerk was so kind to remind me that there is a pending United Auto Workers strike as well, which might affect the ability of any of these vehicles to happen. So to get a very close to replace that 301,000. If we did the court data center and the court furniture, that's 316,000 by my math. Of course, I'm doing that in my head, so it could be wrong. Because I had the court data center as 261 and the court furniture at 55.
Yes.
261,
That is 316?
316.
So can we shift the Pony Field and then those two projects to ARPA and make that notation on the capital outlay budget?
What would that leave us in the ARPA fund too? I'd like to
Well,
know.
that is
Well-
516, well,
And that ARPA, those ARPA funds are coming out of another project, right? So
So
The
that would
Invista-
be, yeah, it'd be 566,000 that you would be switching over to ARPA. That one project that
The
has not been approved yet
The
was
softball?
1,000,002, yeah, renovations. So, you know, it would be about, a little under 700,000.
634.
Thank you.
which would, I mean, we could still have a pretty good improvement at the complex for that amount of money, I would say.
Softball renovation. Oh, the court furniture and the court data center and the pony field. Did I do it
It was
wrong?
316, I believe is what we said.
I have a question about the court furniture. Is this replacement or is this,
This is new furniture, this is,
replacing something or is this filling a void where there's nothing?
A little bit of both, I think, is.
Lee Welch, Court Administrator, 3rd Judicial District. This is a little bit of both. Part of this furniture is outfitting the new courtrooms that were recently built through the renovation project in the basement. There was no funding allocated for furniture for those spaces. So part of this funding will outfit an AA's office, 2 judges' chambers, courtrooms, and a conference room. Part of that is also replacing some extremely outdated and well-worn furniture that's closing in on 50 years of service to Shawnee County.
and again, those had already been approved. We're taking items that had already been approved through capital outlay and just shifting the funding source from capital outlay to using ARPA.
Right.
All right.
Just remember, newer isn't always better. If you want to come check out my desk, I'll show you what I mean.
I just didn't want them sitting on an ironing board between 2 chairs or anything.
So, I don't believe we have a motion right now, so I would make a motion that we move the court data center and court FF&E, or however it's worded on there.
Furniture.
Furniture, the court data center for 261, the court furniture for 55, and then also the Pony Field renovations at Bettis.
Turf replacement.
Turf replacement, which was 250. That we remove those out of capital outlay and intend to make those ARPA funded.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Commissioner May, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Okay, this puts us at 1.025, is that what you said, 1.25
Sorry.
mil?
Give a moment, just
Yeah,
to
it's
recalculate.
hang tight for a
Recalculate,
second.
calculate.
Okay, so 5.5.
Whoops.
your estimated mill levy is 48.819. That would be a decrease of 1.042 mills.
042. All right. Yes.
Tim, I know you just went back to your seat, but we had spoken, I had a member of the community that had suggested to me that we look at possibly turning our Parks and Rec catalog into a digital catalog. We might need to still print a handful for folks that don't have internet access to have out in our community centers or whatever, but could you, I think you had looked it up and it was about a $30,000 savings to do that. Is that something that you guys would be amenable to doing?
Yeah, actually, the cost to do the two brochures was about $35,000, and then there was another $7,000 that we spent distributing it, both of them, throughout the year. So it's a little more than that. There will be some additional, there will be some, not additional, there will be some cost of, we'll still need to create a catalog, even though it's digitally created, and disseminate it and do it a little differently than we're doing it now. So I would think that I think you could probably safely say that would cost somewhere less than $15,000 annually to do that. I mean, there's going to be some software involved. So whatever the math is on that, we could reduce it by that much.
So
42.
that'd be 27,000
There you go. Yeah.
approximately. So I would make a motion that we take the 27,000 out to shift our Parks and Rec catalog to a mostly digital. I think there's still an expectation that we have some printed copies, but I don't think we need to be mailing them out to everybody.
I think that what we have talked about internally is maybe having some postcards that might highlight a few programs a couple of times a year, three times a year or so. Wouldn't be much to the design or the cost, but would have some mailing cost. And it would also inform people about where to go online to find the rest of the programs and how to enroll, things like that.
Yeah, like a postcard with a QR code
There you
that
go.
sends you to the link for the catalog.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
So that's my motion.
Second?
I'm sorry, what was your motion?
To remove 27,000.
27?
Which would leave 15,000 for that purpose.
Okay.
Okay, motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0.
Okay, that brings the total, the budget total to $139,665,156, which is an estimated mill levy of 48.807, and a decrease from the prior year of 1.054.
Commissioner Mays.
I think that we should, personally, I think we should probably add some of our reserves also to supplement a little bit. I'm thinking maybe 300,000, 500,000 to just cut it just a little bit more. And I don't know.
I would go with 300,000. If that's a motion made, I'd second that.
That's my motion, 300,000 of reserves.
Okay. Motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0.
And that would keep the total budget amount at the same amount, but it would decrease the mill levy.
Correct. I would move to approve a final budget.
Mr. Mays, you good with that?
I'm good with that, I'll second it.
All right. Motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Mays. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. I see a smile
Thank
on your
you.
face.
Yes, thank you.
This is Jim Kraut, Shawnee County Councilor. Just a point of clarification on all the motions that were made. Does this body feel like the motion that was made to shift funding from capital outlay to ARPA completes that process and no additional motions need to be made by this body to authorize the items that were shifted to ARPA funding to be funded by ARPA?
I don't know that we need to do it today. I think that, sorry.
I would, whether it's today or when, I would like a final approval for the capital improvement plan, because we left that kind of open because you wanted the flexibility to make those changes. So we do not have an approved capital improvement plan at this point, which includes the capital outlay. So at some point, whether today or next week, I would like that approval.
I feel comfortable approving the capital improvement plan as presented, or as amended today.
Okay.
I'll second. Motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Great. All right. Thank you, Betty.
Thank you.
Next item.
Item 5, public comment.
We do have one person signed up to speak. Robert Williams.
Good morning, Robert Williams, 3249 Southeast Shawnee Terrace. Thank you for allowing me to grace you with my presence yet again. I know you are hardworking, and I apologize for my lack of diplomacy when I speak here, but it's out of frustration in representing the citizenry. I have a few items here that I would like to bring to your attention. First, I'd like to ask, if I may, what is the current population of Shawnee County at this time? Does anybody know that?
Approximately 180,000.
180,000, great. When was that count last taken? Was that the census?
That's the census.
2020?
Yes.
Was anybody or were everybody on this board at that time?
Yes.
Okay, great, all of them. Something crossed my desk a few days after the August 2020 property increase meeting, and I didn't have time to get to it because, as you know from last week, I had a more pressing issue over there at the TSCPL to address. And I want to do my due diligence when these matters come before me. So I, in haste, wrote some notes and did some looking on this matter, and I wanted to ask those on the commission and maybe council, if you are aware of Kansas statute 192670. Anybody here aware of that? We have the counselor is what is. No. So since commission might be, and from my research, it's still in effect, if I'm not mistaken. I would beg for some clarification on that. If that is not in place, this would be moot. But it's my understanding that it's still on the books. So while your council's doing research on that, I'll read this to you, because I had mentioned a citizen review board, and members of the council welcomed that and said they would take it under consideration. Well, 1926-7, and I don't want, it's an interesting story how I obtained this document, but for the interest of protecting my sources, I'm going to refrain from offering that at this time, but it's an amusing story. But anyway, it says here, Citizens Commission on Local Government in Counties between 170 and 200,000 membership qualification. There shall be created and established a citizen commission on local government in every county in this state having a population of more than 170,000 and not more than 200,000. Such commission shall consist of the Board of County Commissioners of the county, the governing bodies of all cities of the first class located in such county. I assume that Shawnee County Topeka meets that criteria. Are they first class? We can look into that. The trustees of each township, I think we may have some here today of such county. The chairman of the boards of education of all such districts located in such county. The chairman of boards of public utilities of all cities located in such counties. The chairman, the chairman, sorry, I have my bifocals on, but the chairman of boards of all drainage districts located in such counties, the mayors of all cities, that's Rossville, Auburn, I suppose, and some of these, of second and third class, and I would assume the library, since they are their own municipality, I don't know, of such county, and number 8, 18 persons who shall be selected and appointed by the members herein before provided. Such persons shall be residents of the county and shall not be officers or employees of the county or any city, school district, township, board of public utilities, or draining districts. Now, statutes 2671 through 2674 highlight how they should be selected and what their duties are. I will skip 2672, the duties. That's, we can peruse the others at our leisure, but this is something I want to get out. It shall be the duty of such commission to investigate and study the existing structure and operation of the units of local government within such county. B, investigate and study the needs and requirements of the citizens of the county for government services. C, investigate and study possibilities for elimination of all unnecessary activities and all duplication in office personnel, equipment, and coordination of activities between departments and government units. And D, to investigate and study the possibility and advisability of reforming the system, local government, with a view to simplifying the organization of government. Such study to include consideration of the consolidation units of government, transfer of powers and duties, and the creation of new forms of government. Are we aware of this, and is this in place at this moment? Are we in violation of the statute?
We do have an.
Then you want to defer to our legal counsel?
In this language.
Let me review these statutes specifically. I believe this is a prior enabling set of statutes for a prior look at consolidation, perhaps not even in Shawnee County. Let me review that and give this body that opinion.
Very good.
But I would like to review that and give this body that opinion. I believe there were a separate set of statutes that enabled the Consolidation Commission to occur back in 2006, to review this issue, to come forward with a ballot measure. Specifically, the review at that time was to look and see, should we consolidate city and county governments totally? Should we consolidate certain functions? Should we eliminate certain elected officials? That particular set of statutes had a dual majority vote. It had to be approved by both residents within the city of Topeka, residents outside the city of Topeka, and that failed. I believe that was around 2006 and 2007.
And what was the population at that time? I don't think we met that threshold of 170,000, which would require us to be obliged to this statute.
I'm not sure of the population. There was a specific set of statutes adopted by the Kansas legislature to allow us locally to look at that issue. That's why I want to go back and take a look at these specific statutes and find the actual purpose back in 1968 when it was adopted, why it was adopted. My suspicion is it's for a separate issue not applying to Shawnee County, but I'll take a look at it.
Well, at the time, Shawnee County wasn't a population of 170,000, so I would argue that it is applicable today, and we need to be on board with the law. We don't want to be in violation of statutory constraints. So with that, I appreciate us looking into that, and I would be willing to throw my hat in the ring to assist in being part of this should it come to fruition per statutory requirement. Second item or issue I have, I was wanting to know, what is the expiration of the contract of the county appraiser? He's on 3-year contract, if I'm not mistaken. 4-year contract. Do you know when that expires? Or better yet,
He's figuring it up
well,
himself.
that's, I guess, to my question, what would constitute a situation that would make that contract null and void? What actions could he possibly commit or conduct that would violate that contract and render it null and void? Malfeasance, perhaps?
I'm going to defer to my legal counsel, but I believe that an ouster petition would have to be brought for, not filling duties, but Jim?
Let me just say, I don't think any of the provisions, either in the statute or the contract, would allow for removal of this county appraiser. I think he does an excellent job doing exactly what the state requires him to do per statute. The issue that there is presented with valuations is a direct function of what the state requires. And this appraiser meets the state standard and is tested every year to meet the state standard, and does meet the state standard for appraisal each and every year. So in my opinion, I'll have to pull the contract, pull the statutes to find out exactly what the standards are.
Please
But I
do,
can't
please
imagine that this county appraiser does not meet or exceed those standards.
And I'm not suggesting that he is, but I'm only asking if malfeasance would rise to that level. For instance, hypothetically speaking, the manipulation of data to artificially inflate valuations, something along those lines. If you would, please look into that as well, because that's something that some of your constituents have concerns with as well. So I appreciate your time, and I hope that I was a little more tactful in my delivery of my message, and thanks. I look forward to hearing from you with regard to this commission that, according to my research, should be in place at this time. Thank you for your time.
Jim, would our Intergovernmental Cooperation Council, which is made up of the Unified School Districts, which is Auburn, Washburn, Shawnee County, Silver Lake, Topeka, the city of Topeka is represented there, Shawnee County, the Metropolitan Transit Authority, Airport Authority, the library, and Washburn University. It's a council that meets once a month at Washburn University. Would that possibly be what that's?
I would prefer not to answer until
Okay.
I've taken a look at it.
Sure.
Let me take a look at it specifically.
That sounds like a lawyer.
No. All right. Anyone else wishing to speak from the public? All right. Next item.
Item 6, administrative communications.
Okay. Administrators? No one? Tim, did you want to talk about Garden Glow? Where'd Tim go? Oh, he's hiding back there.
Well,
I think it
Tim
starts
Laurent,
this
Parks and
Friday.
Recreation Department. I was not prepared to talk about Garden Glow, and I'd be happy to defer to you to give us some information about Garden Glow.
There you have it. They're starting this Friday.
Right. So obviously at Old Prairie Town, Ward Mead Botanical Gardens, and if you haven't been to Garden Glow in the past, we would encourage you to come out. It's an incredible event. It's similar to Tulips at Twilight, but I think, but it is a completely different experience. If I remember correctly, starts at 7:30. Yeah,
Yeah.
dark.
Yeah, 7:30.
And if I believe right, it's $5 donation. So,
Kids
yeah,
under 6, I think, are free.
there you go. I knew that he would have the
I just wanted to
information.
mention, because I was out decorating a hay bale in the heat the other day.
Well, today was the perfect day to go out there and do some
And if you
volunteer
go,
work.
make sure you stop by and
Yeah.
check out Commissioner Rippon's hay bale.
Please do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Sorry to single you out there. Okay. Commissioner Mays. Do you have anything?
Go Chiefs starts first NFL football game tonight, so very excited to see that happening again. Had a chance to do some Friday Night Lights last week. That was a lot of fun too. So hopefully the weather stays nice for all that to happen this weekend. But other than that, nothing else from me.
Commissioner?
Nothing to add.
Nothing to add? I don't think I have anything else to add to all that, but I'm enjoying the weather. Took in a Royals game last night. Didn't turn out well, but it was sure a nice evening. What's next?
Item 7, executive session.
We do not have a need for executive session, so we're adjourned.